When Rohit Sharma scored a century against New Zealand in the third and final ODI of the three-match series that was in many ways integral to India sealing a clean sweep of the series, having already won the series, well, there was a lot of celebration over the fact that Rohit had finally scored an ODI ton after 3 years' time. In fact, there was something that the broadcasters made a big deal out of. It was something that even fans on social media celebrated, that he'd finally broken what was, in essence, a 3-year hoodoo or a jinx of sorts, or a barren run that he had been going through. But there was one person who was not very happy with this entire hoopla that was being made over the first ton in 3 years comment. That man was none other than Rohit Sharma himself. And in fact, according to him, he feels he's taken aim at the broadcasters for constantly showing that stat off. He's taken aim at even people who are promoting the fact that it was his first in 3 years. And he's called for something that, truth be told, is pretty important: context, perspective, and nuance. So what exactly is it that Rohit Sharma has said? Well, he was speaking after the match in the post-match press conference or media interaction with journalists, where he was quizzed on, how does it feel to get your first ton in 3 years? And here's what was Rohit Sharma's response. He said, regarding the first 100 in 3 years, I've played only 12, but by 12 he actually means 17 ODIs in 3 years. 3 years sounds like a lot. You guys should know this. Now, this is very important to note, that as he said, 3 years, perhaps it may have been that he's last gotten a century, but they had not actually played too much ODI cricket in that time. In fact, as we would know, 2020 there was the COVID pandemic, and then 2021 and 22 were mostly years focused on T20I cricket. And in fact, that is something that he has mentioned in the same breath as this. He said that, I know that it was shown on the broadcast, but we need to be careful with stats that we present, and even the broadcasters should show the correct picture. Now, when he says the correct picture in this case, obviously he means that, you need to be showing things with a bit more perspective and nuance, rather than just making a hue and cry at the fact that this was his first ton in 3 years. Now, he's not wrong when he says that, it's not incorrect factually to say that this was his first century in 3 years' time. But what it also cannot be denied is the fact that, there wasn't really that much ODI cricket that was played during that point in time. And that also is something of a point that Rohit Sharma goes on to make when he, again, he's speaking in the same breath here, and he also mentions this, this point about COVID-19 and the amount of disruptions that took place and the lack of ODI cricket that had been played. He said very clearly, there were no matches that were held in 2020 because of COVID-19, and we hardly played ODIs. So you have to put that in perspective. And in many ways, he's right. 2021 was a year of the T20I World Cup. Same could be said about 2022. It weren't that many ODI matches that were played, and even the matches that were played, India at least were generally sending second string squads to those. So the likes of Rohit and Virat and even KL and Jasprit Bumrah, among others, were generally speaking rested from these ODI series. They were kept fresh for the T20I matches. So that was Rohit's big bone of contention, and truth be told, it's hard to see anything against or anything wrong with his argument, because I believe if you guys were even watching Sports Today's show yesterday, we did mention that India really haven't played that many ODIs. So on one hand, yes, it is factually correct to say that it was 3 years since he's last gotten a ton, but in those 3 years there haven't been that many ODI plays. So if you're looking at it, his drought only stretches back to about 17 ODIs, which, truth be told, doesn't need to be that many matches either, because if you're taking things in context, India will be playing about 17 T20Is before the ODI World Cup this year itself. So truth be told, the drought isn't as big as most people were claiming it to be, and that is why Rohit Sharma was so annoyed at the entire first 100 in 3 years, stat that was being peddled around. But the good thing was that the skipper was also happy with certain people. He reserved plenty of praise for the likes of Shubman Gill. But what was interesting to note was that he also reserved a lot of praise for one Shardul Thakur. In fact, this is what he had to say about Shardul Thakur. He said that, look, the squad called Shardul a magician. That is because he's got this knack of taking wickets for us at a crucial time. And I hope he keeps performing like this. Now, obviously, it's hard to ignore the fact that with Shardul, you tend to get, it's a bit of a variety show really, because he will be expensive at times, he'll leak runs, but he does, as Rohit very correctly pointed out, have the knack of taking wickets as well. So that is also very, very important, because if you're a bowler, the best thing you can do is be a wicket taker. And generally speaking, if you're a wicket taking bowler, you of course can sometimes afford to be a little on the expensive side. We've seen this even with wrist spinners, and truth be told, it does in fact it's okay to be a little expensive if you have that ability to get crucial breakthroughs. And another advantage that Shardul has is that he can also be a very, very good batsman. So lower down the order, he does provide some depth in batting for India, because truth be told, before this series, you remember even in the Sri Lanka series, India were batting only till 7, and with Shardul there you now have batting till 8, which gives some depth and also allows a little bit more freedom to your top order batsmen. Now, the interesting thing he mentioned about Shardul was the dismissal of Tom Latham, and how it was planned not only by Shardul but also Virat Kohli and Hardik Pandya in the middle. In fact, this is exactly what he said. He said that Shardul, he bowled a very good knuckle ball to Tom Latham, and it was planned well in the middle by Virat Kohli and Hardik Pandya. In fact, this is pretty interesting to say the least, because again, it does show that the Indian team are actually, making multiple plans on the field, and there are multiple people involved. It's not just Rohit, the skipper, who's making such calls. He's taking important decisions whilst keeping the likes of Virat Kohli, who, as we know, would be part of the leadership group, being a former captain, and Hardik Pandya, who's essentially India's current T20I captain as well. So it's interesting to see that this was in fact a dismissal that was planned out not by Rohit but by Shardul, Virat Kohli and Hardik Pandya. So in many ways, it does seem likely that at least in ODI cricket, you could be seeing a lot more of Shardul Thakur if you believe what Rohit Sharma has to say about him. And that's it for this particular video of ours. What do you guys think? Is Rohit right to be annoyed at the entire first century in 3 years stat? And do you think you'd want to see more Shardul Thakur in ODIs in the future? You can let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and tap the bell icon as well, so you know when it is we're going live or uploading a new video for you guys. You can also go ahead, follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and last but not least, download the SportsTech app. Thank you all once again for joining us. I hope to see you with us to the day, but for now, goodbye.